Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL44 coming at you with another video. My thinking today. It's been, 24 hours after the trade? That's really where my head has been. Not too many other subjects have been focused on. And, the Los Angeles Lakers are just fun again. I think at this point, the most shocking trade in NBA history falling upon our heads about 30 hours ago, whatever it's been. And my thinking today is, when I look at the Dallas Mavericks specifically, and I'll be jumping all over the place in regards to this conversation, but just when I look at the Dallas Mavericks, I see a team that needs to make more moves. They have a redundancy in some of their best players playing the same positions over and over and over again. Gafford, AD, PJ Washington. You got too many bigs in place playing the same positions over and over and over again, and they have other needs. Are you moving PJ Washington to the bench so that AD can play the 4? Are you asking AD to play the 5 with all these bigs in place? You've been using Gafford off the bench. You've been using PJ Washington as a starter. He's been thriving. And wouldn't it be best to move one of these people? Gafford is somebody who's been rumored to be on the trade block. But if AD is going to be your 4, you don't want to move Gafford necessarily with Lively's health issues being as they've been. And, AD, of course, having the reputation of being somebody who can't stay healthy, although he's been pretty healthy for my Lakers. And so that's really what it comes down to. I don't doubt that they wouldn't be wrong for moving somebody in that rotation of bigs, because those are some of their best players, and they're not getting the most out of them in this rotation. You got depth that's beyond the measure, and you can clearly see that everybody wants center, so they hold a lot more value than they usually do. You got teams in this league like the Lakers who desperately need any of those people to fill the center position, right? And then multiple teams that can use them. So this is probably the best time to probably shop your bigs, just the same. I know they want to keep their win now timeline. They've taken great steps to assure that is maintained. And I'm of the mindset that they can win, but they do have to shuffle some things around. I'm listening to a lot of Mavs fans. They don't know what they're getting. That's the thing. They know what they're losing, but they're not aware of any of the particulars of what they're gaining. So a lot of them are not excited about bringing in Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has carried the Lakers for the last 6 years with his production on both sides of the floor. He's one of the best rebounders and one of the best defenders of all time. So as a Laker fan who's been watching him every game for the last 6 years pretty much, I know exactly what they're inheriting. I know the great of them, I know the worst of them. And they are not going to skip a beat. If he continues to be the person that he was for the Lakers, for them, they're going to win even more games. That's just the truth. Now, are they happy? No, I wouldn't be happy either. You're going to trade Luka at, 25 years old? Hell no, you're not happy. But are you finding yourself in a space where you think that the unit that you just picked up can't play? Dallas has been a team that just 3 years ago had so little rim protection with just Christian Wood out there, they had to forego a play-in tournament opportunity so that they could draft Derek Lively at the 10th spot, keep their pick, and target a center. I said that they needed to fire whoever was in place of their GM if they didn't draft Derek Lively. That was how serious their rim protection situation was. They overcorrected that to the maximum. Now they have some of the best shot blocking you're ever going to find anywhere in the Western Conference. They're up there with the Cleveland Cavaliers, maybe even better. Probably better as currently constructed as pertains to the rim protection. They have rim protection beyond any of our wildest imaginations. And that is something that Dallas fans, having dealt with what they dealt with just 2 years ago, are going to be kind of they're going to be shocked by that. The few of them who are still going to watch the team, because a lot of people are boycotting their squad, and I would too, as the type of fan I am. If you would have traded Kobe Bryant at 25 years old, I probably would not have wanted to watch too much basketball for your team. So I get where they're coming from. But as it pertains to what they can do with what it is that they have, move the fans, the fans either going to be there or not. But can this unit go into a basketball floor in the NBA and win a lot of games? I think that's obvious. If you know ball, you know damn well they can win a lot of games. Now, the problem is they do have some specific needs. And the needs that they now have are the same needs the Lakers had, in my opinion, before we made this trade. Now, not as it pertains to the center position, but the continuity, passing, who's going to get other people involved, can you keep from having long scoring droughts problem. Kyrie Irving is a score-first player who facilitates second. Spencer Dinwiddie's a guy who's been balling for them, who ball handles, who can get some assists off, but he's not a world beater. He's not your answer there. Quentin Grimes, I don't know his game well enough to know if he facilitates really well, but I don't assume he's a facilitator like that. Max Christie, worst passer in basketball. Great at a lot of other things. I love Max Christie, did not want to trade him. But you guys have heard me say this a million times, the boy can't pass to save his life. He's one of the most inaccurate passers I've ever seen in my life. It just is what it is. He's especially poor in this particular way. And so what you're going to find is they went from having one of the best playmakers that got everybody involved, making people better on their team, in Luka the Don, and didn't replace him with anybody who's going to do any of that. So, and you gave yourself more center help, for which you already had an abundance of. Which is why I think Nico Harrison trade and his idea that he must have Anthony Davis had to come with the understanding that you were going to then move one of the existing centers that you have for the pieces that are lacking. You traded Daniel Gafford type dude for Alonzo Ball type dude. You see what I'm saying? That's what they need to do. Now, if I'm Nico, I'm targeting somebody like Davion Mitchell, Lonzo Ball, or somebody in that kind of ilk. You need another facilitator in regular rotation, because Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyrie Irving are not going to do that for you enough to assure that Anthony gets his touches consistently, to make sure that guys like Max or whoever you're going to utilize, Klay Thompson, obviously get their touches consistently. Quentin Grimes in the rotation gets his touches consistently. You need ball movement. What's the word I'm trying to look for? You need people who are going to insert that into your league, into your situation. So I think the best person they have in place to do that right now is Spencer Dinwiddie. And what they've been able to get out of Spencer Dinwiddie was a lot more than what the Lakers were last year. We had him for half a season. We saw some good stuff out of him. The majority of the time, he wasn't doing much for us. But they got a lot out of him. They know how to use him. This is his second stint with them, and they've done good things with him. They may be able to get away with that on a regular season level. Come playoff time, if they don't want to have some damaging scoring droughts, in my humble opinion, they're going to need to find that piece. They're going to need to add Alonzo Ball to this team. And they can do that. PJ Washington is a talented player that is playing great ball that they no longer can get the most out of. If you shop him before you send him back out there to play with Anthony Davis before the trade deadline, you can really get a nice facility. You can get a piece, man. I don't know who they can get. I'm not really sure. But PJ Washington is worth Lonzo Ball's expiring contract and something else, in my opinion, if the numbers match up that way. But that's what he's worth. He's worth a Josh Giddey to me. I don't know if the Bulls do that, but that's like, you should be able to take him and get something like that. And that's exactly what they need to do. If they're not going to use him, use Gafford. But again, if you're going to use Gafford, understand that now you're going to ask Anthony Davis to play some center, and that's what he was not happy with. So that's really what it comes down to. I'm not really sure if the Lakers are going to be willing to move Austin Reeves in a separate deal. But that's something now that the Lakers may have to consider doing, now that they have an abundance of ball handlers that can't defend and too many co-stars around those players that can't defend. That's the problem my Lakers are running into. So maybe you do another deal with Dallas and send them Austin Reeves and get yourself back PJ Washington or Daniel Gafford and something else. Because like that to me makes sense for both teams. Now, I personally also want to see what Austin Reeves looks like next to Luka and Bron on the offensive side, because I think you could have some ridiculously fine playmaking going on and some ridiculously fine efficiency, even though Austin is kind of a inefficient shooter at times. His playmaking and his energy and his overall fire is going to match Luka's very well for years to come if we keep them together. But like I said, we got so many co-star players around him, coupled with the lack of shot blocking prowess, to where their defensive weaknesses are probably going to be on display just as much as their offensive gifts. So that's what it really becomes a problem for me in regards to team building. Can you find a way to get those co-stars without having to give up one of those pieces that maybe you otherwise don't want to give up? And the answer is, I don't think so. We do have a first-round pick, but a lot of our players are not worth anything. And so that's when it becomes a situation where you got to use what you have to get what you need so that your team can be cohesive. And maybe Austin Reeves might be the most reasonable piece to move that's going to actually be good enough to bring you that high-level piece that ultimately makes your team capable of competing in the way that you need it to. You need defensive help. Dodo's there, Vando's there. You have to keep those guys. But since you've moved Max Christie, now you have a need for a point of attack defender with some length and some energy to him. Max Christie was the exact type of piece you needed. And so, and for me, I think in a way, I think Dallas almost like they pulled that piece away from us almost to make up for the difference in what they ultimately were leaving on the table, to sort of cripple us on the court, in my opinion. Because that's really what it comes down to. For what it is that we are about to do, we need Max Christie more than ever. But if you want to send Luka to a situation where he's not necessarily going to win as much, or you make it harder for him to win, you could take that piece. Because I look at Max Christie in Dallas and I say, is he even going to get the minutes? He's definitely not starting there. Not over Klay Thompson, not the way Quentin Grimes been playing. You know, Jaden Hardy's been balling and has long-standing experience with that team. For the Lakers, he was a starting shooting guard that we used 30 minutes a game because of a necessity for him. But he's underdeveloped in comparison to those other players. And I don't know that he's going to get the minutes. I was listening to a podcast that is centered around Dallas, and they were essentially saying they understood that we, Laker fans, were excited about Max, but he didn't personally think they were even going to play him. And if that's what they ended up doing, taking on a piece that they're not actually going to utilize, then what was the point of them taking that piece instead of a second first-round pick or, you know, another piece on our team that ultimately they could have used? Maybe Max was to match salaries, but Dallas, don't need Max like the Lakers need Max after making that trade. Again, as I've said many times, Max ain't keeping that trade from happening for me. He ain't keeping that trade from happening. I'm doing it. And it's just going to create problems. But if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I'm like, so you let Max be the guy that you ultimately added to the trade along with a first-round pick? And that made it so that you were satisfied with your return? That's significantly less than what Luka's worth. And you can't even get the most out of the piece, in theory, when you bring it to that unit that you have. You're not talking about rebuilding. So you have an underdeveloped Max Christie who was getting life-size minutes where he was, and you're bringing him to a situation where you can dial his minutes back to basically where it was last year when Darvin Ham had him. I just hate this for Max Christie. I hate this for the Lakers as it pertains to Max Christie leaving when we need his piece more than ever. And I would love for that to not be what Jason Kidd and Nico Harrison ultimately took from us. Because I think we need Max Christie for what it is we're doing going forward. So that's just the reality of it. He ain't keeping me from making a trade. This is a problem I have to live with. But I do spite the idea that this was what I was forced to live with when I know damn well they're settling for so little. Why didn't they take something else? Like, why didn't Dallas take something else? Why was it Max Christie that they needed? When they know damn well they have a plethora of these type of pieces. You got Dinwiddie in a big role. You got Grimes in a big role. You got Klay Agent who ain't going to want to come off the bench. You know, Max's minutes are not even going to be there. And so for me, I hate what they did there. I really hate what they did there. I'm not mad at Rob Pelinka in any way for moving Max. You do that, and you do that right away. But they just did not at all need Max at all. They didn't need it. Not looking at how they're currently constructed. Now, if they move some things around, maybe they can open up a spot for Max. Obviously, Max is a player who can develop over the course of several years. So if it's about a future decision in regards to bringing him a piece like Max, you're going to love what he can be in the future. But his development was going so well this season with 30 minutes a night as a starter for the Lakers. And now to see him go to a Mavericks team that ain't even probably going to utilize him, that's going to practically boycott the team just off the strength of the trade he was involved in. He ain't even going to be rooted for out there like that. I just hate us sending our guys that we love into that circumstance. Because them Dallas fans, they hate their team right now. They hate their team right now. They're not interested. Everybody I've listened to is talking about how much they don't care about Anthony Davis and Max Christie. Like, I don't want to send my guy in it. Like, to be honest with you, I don't want to send my guys in them situations. They don't deserve that. Neither one of them dudes deserve that. So for me, I'm not mad at Rob Pelinka, but I'm kind of mad at Nico Harrison, because I'm like, you really took a piece that's being utilized properly in a certain position, and you brought him to your situation. You didn't even assess his value properly as it pertains to what he's going to be worth to you when you did it. And now you got him going into a situation where he's going to have to take massive steps back. And I hate that for Max Christie so very much. I promise you guys, as I've assessed this and the layers of the different things that have to do with this trade, I really, really hate this for Max Christie, man. And I hope he finds his way the hell out of there rather quickly. Because at the end of the day, he's on the rise. He's one of the better point of attack defenders out there. Like I said, he can't pass worth a damn, but he's getting better at that too. I saw the improvements. I thought he played one of his best games of his career against the Knicks, driving at the rim, finishing. I don't want to see him on the back of the damn Dallas Mavericks bench because they want to watch Klay jack up a bunch of brick threes, man. Hell no. And that's another thing. They need to move Klay. I know they got a timeline, this, that, and the third. You can manage having Klay on your team based on the fact that you have Max Christie and these guys that they have that I've already mentioned, Hardy and these dudes. But if you move Klay out of there, you're going to get more out of all three of them brothers. And Klay just makes your team older. If you lean on him, your team is just older. Now that you got AD and Kyrie in place, they both in their mid-30s, early 30s. And you're leaning on Klay, he in his mid-30s. And he be bricking shots. He don't even defend like that no more. I hate Klay in Dallas right now. I hate it. I loathe it. Because it's in the way of Max Christie getting the minutes. That's God's honest truth, man. I want them to move Klay. Get him out of there, bro. Your team too old with him anyway. You do better running them young guns with the minutes that you're giving to Klay. Hardy, Grimes, and Christie can be fantastic if Klay ass ain't in the way eating up all the minutes. I'm just going to be honest with you. Their defense is going to be good. All that. They're going to be athletic. They can get on a fast break. The rim protection of AD and Lively and Gafford are going to send shots into transition for them to run and speed past people. It's going to be fun ball. It's going to be very fun ball. But not if Klay Thompson's jogging up and down the court, bricking. Hell no. Get him off the team, man. Get him off the team. Because if you move him for a piece that's younger, that likely provides you the playmaking that ultimately you're missing, now you have a team that makes a lot more sense and you're getting more out of the pieces that ultimately are losing value by the second and not developing properly because of it. And Hardy, Christie, and Grimes. So as a Laker fan, when I look over at Dallas, I see a personal interest in seeing them succeed now because they got some of my young guys over there. You understand? That's how I look at it. Anthony Davis and Max Christie are going to be fam forever. Wherever they go from here on out, They are Lakers. Because Max Christie, we drafted, we watched him grow up, and we were highly invested in his success with our team, and we are not pleased to see him walk away. We understand that's the cost of doing business, and it's business we must do, but do not get that twisted with us being pleased with the situation. We are not. I don't think there's a Laker fan in the Lakers sphere that wanted Max Christie gone for any damn reason at all, to be honest with you. That was a player I wanted to see in this uniform for many years to come. He's only getting better. I want him back, personally. I want him back. And if he's back here 2 years from now, I'll be very pleased with that. Because I don't think Max Christie has any business being in no damn Dallas situation post-Luka, where that whole team is being boycotted by the fan base and all this stuff that I've already said. I hate that for him. So that's what I got to say, man. Just want to put that out there. Nico Harrison, man, they should fire your ass, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. I know you Kobe's homie and all that stuff. I don't care about none of that, bro. If I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan, you getting the hell up out of here. Ain't no way the Lakers was able to get Luka Doncic for that return. Now that we've sat on this and thought about it, and we've talked about it, people were saying the Lakers get an A, the Dallas Mavericks get an F. Because I assess things the way that I do, I absolutely agree. It's not about the fit. It's about what you settle for and the value of it versus the value of what it is you send out. I understand that Luka Doncic has weight issues. I understand that Luka Doncic may have an alcoholism problem, which is very serious, if that's what's going on. But that is not something that should have affected the price tag to that degree. You saw a guy, Nico Harrison, get locked into the idea of having AD. And because of it, he didn't really shop Luka Doncic. And as a Laker fan, I thank you for the stimulus package. As someone who assesses your job, I think you need to be fired. Literally. And if this wasn't a deal done above your head, which there's every reason to believe that this was done over their head. But just the same, with what the information is that we have, if everything is equal in regards to what we've been told about this deal, Nico Harrison needs to be fired. Like literally. He needs to be fired. Asset management when it comes to a top 3 player in the NBA, that shouldn't be something that somebody can fumble. You can't. You should not be able to fumble that without repercussions. Especially if it's going to cost that player $112 million. It's another part of the situation that I think people have a right to be pissed off about. Luka Doncic was eligible for a $346 million contract this upcoming offseason, whenever he becomes a free agent 2 years from now, or an extension of some sort somewhere within the time frame that we're in. He was due for almost $400 million. What they did by trading him is effectively put him in a position to where he can only make $212 or 20-something million. Now, granted, this is wealth we're talking about. Far be it from me to feel bad for somebody who has $500 million losing $100 million. That's not the point. But that he's earned all of this based on what it is that the criteria for the league is. You make all NBA teams first team 5 times in the first 5 years of your career, and an owner could decide because of his own prejudices, and regardless of whether those are merited or not, that you should not be eligible for what it is that you've earned. That's something wrong with that. That shouldn't even be possible. Just because they think he's not worth that doesn't mean that he should not actually receive it from the NBA. You see what I'm saying? There's something wrong with that. He should fight that. Because they say I'm too fat, and because they say I drink too much, even though I'm producing as much as people that they think are in greatest shape of all time, now they get to take generational wealth out of my pocket? Not pay me what it is that I'm supposed to be getting? But if you're telling me if I had the luck of being drafted by another team with different individuals and I do these same things, I get $112 million more dollars, why am I in such a lottery-like situation? If I'm Luka Doncic, I'm not going with that. That doesn't make any sense. That should not be even be. Look over at guys making $300 million like Jaylen Brown. You trying to tell me Luka Doncic not better than Jaylen Brown? But Jaylen Brown's in better shape, right? So he deserves $112 million more dollars. Like that's not a fair situation. Somebody needs to point that out and have a problem with it. That's not fair. That man earned that money. You see what I'm saying? Based on the criteria set up by the NBA, he's eligible for that amount. He should be getting that amount to play basketball anywhere in this league. Because guys that are worse than him are getting that amount. And they're not pointing out what it is he's produced as a means of saying that he shouldn't get that. They're pointing out the fact that they don't agree with how he lives his life and ultimately that he's going to be able to produce going forward. But if that's the case, then I guess they have a crystal ball being able to tell us what he's going to do. Because the evidence of him doing this already obviously isn't enough. So they can utilize prejudice, so to speak, and use his physical appearance against him to discriminate against him for $112 million? Just because they don't want to, so they can use that as an excuse to not pay him. Not that he's not worth it or that they don't expect he'll produce it, because the evidence shows us he will. But that they have the excuse to not pay him is why he doesn't get his money. And he gets traded to another team and now he's not eligible for the same money? When y'all send that through this brain, I cry foul. I cry foul. There's no way in hell Luka Doncic should not be making $334 million this upcoming opportunity. There's no way. There's no way. It should not be as simple as an owner saying, I don't want to pay him this, so I'm sending him somewhere else, as to which he would not be eligible to get this anywhere else in the league too. That's an agreement amongst owners that's not fair for the players. That should not have been agreed to within the collective bargaining agreement by any stretch of the imagination. That should not have been agreed to. The Player Association should absolutely have had that be something that stalled every bit of this last collective bargaining agreement. There should never be a situation where I can look at a person and say, I don't think they're worth what it is they've earned. So therefore, I'm going to not only not pay them that, but I'm sending them somewhere else so that they cannot get it. Nah, hell no, man. That should not have been even possible. That should not have even been possible. So I have a big problem with that. As a Laker fan, you would think that I don't, because it definitely creates flexibility within my own squad to where we get this player at half the price and we don't have to pay him that much. Yeah, for my selfishness, I'm pleased with that. That allows me to build a team that can maybe be more likely to win a championship. It allows me to have one of the best players in the world on a discount. I, Laker fan, of course, appreciate any time we can get a discount. But me, fair human being who respects the craft, who speaks into the betterment of the entire field of not only the existing players, but the youth that are coming, I don't want this for them. I don't want this. That shouldn't even be possible. And I look around the league and see so many dudes making over what it is they're supposed to be getting. Guys been in the league for 1,000,000 years, getting snubbed. Or rather, snubbing other people out of opportunities. And then you see these little contingencies that are in place to keep people from being able to get what it is they're earning, that are controlled by political structures. For example, MVPs. Or if my contract says I get a kicker of $50 million for winning MVP, and they get to keep me from getting that MVP just because of who's voting. Oh, it's a bunch of media people. So I could actually earn this MVP, but because they like that guy more, it's going to cost me such $1 million? Is that not manipulatable? Like, that whole process just seems manipulatable, and it seems deliberately manipulatable. And I have a real problem with it. So that's what I'm saying to all of y'all, man. I don't know. There's a lot of things about this Luka Doncic situation that don't sit right with me. It don't sit right with me at all. He should be able to get all of his money. He's earned that. Now, there are circumstances where you put an asterisk next to that. For example, I felt bad for Isaiah Thomas with the Celtics when he didn't get his big contract, but that injury assured that they could discriminate against giving him that contract based on the expectations for his availability. Hell no, they shouldn't give him $200 million worth of cap if he now has a hip issue that's going to keep him out for 2 years. But to say Luka Doncic, who's been in the same shape or somewhere hovering around this same shape for the last 6 years, making all NBA teams every year, should not be able to receive what it is he's getting, he ain't injured to a point where you can say it's definitive that he's not going to perform. You see what I'm saying? So they shouldn't be able to discriminate against him in that way, to take 112 M's away from the man. 112? That's a lot of damn wealth, man. And so I don't know, man. Look, I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you what works in the structure of the NBA. That's their own, by their own, their private business. They structure how they want to structure. I'm sure they do everything by the book. But there's something deeply unfair about that whole scenario. There's something deeply unfair about that whole scenario. If a player proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that they meet criteria for a certain pay, then they should probably be given that pay unless there's something definitive in place that would prove that they're not going to be able to perform up to the level from which they've already proven. That part should not even be negotiable. That should not be negotiable, man. Anything less than that is just people getting over on people. That's literally it. And so that's my point of view on that, man. Now that Luka Doncic is part of my team, you damn right I'm going to bat for him. That's the point. It's the same way I feel about us trading away Anthony Davis and Max Christie into situations that are not so good. You damn well that I'm going to go to bat for them. Because that's what it means for me as somebody who's a Laker enthusiast and an NBA enthusiast who has a voice that people listen to. We're not going to just allow for y'all to get over on our players. You're not going to just allow for y'all to stick old guys in at half the price because you don't want to pay new guys who are likely going to balloon in price and your team sucks because of it, sending away generational talent. You know what I'm saying? It hurt breaking the hearts of 12-year-olds all over Dallas and bringing back half of what's going to make their team good enough to compete for years to come. Talking about a win now attitude. You just gave away generational talent. Talking about defense wins championships and you took back half of what a guy's worth. Like, nah, man, that type of malpractice, that shit is bad. That is bad, man. I'm a Laker fan of 30 years. 30 years, man. I'm 40 years old. I became a Laker fan when I was 9 years old. 30 years. I benefit greatly from this injustice. I am not pleased with it. Okay? I don't give a damn if I benefit from something that's wrong is wrong. That's the point. It's imbalance. And if I shut my mouth, eventually that same imbalance is going to come knocking on my door. That's why you jump in front of such things like that. That's why you fight for the balance of things, because eventually your number's going to be called for you to take the short end of the stick. You going to wait for that? No, you stop this in its tracks. And so that's why they don't want me anywhere near the NBA, because I'm going to be talking just like this if I talk to 7 million people. Like, you could put me on the platform of ESPN and I'm going to likely have something like this to say. This is wrong, man. So yeah, man, with that being said, welcome to LA, Luka. This is how we get down, bro. This is exactly how we get down on this channel. I don't know about a lot of other Laker fans. You know, a lot of people are different. You know what I mean? Just like anywhere you go, you're going to have people that are about different things and all of that. But here, we have real conversations on this channel about a lot of different things. So it ain't nothing for me to point out some wrongdoing in the NBA. Ain't nothing for me to do that. Because if you search through the rest of my channel, you're going to see me doing that more than not. In other areas of life. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why I believe I'm respected by a lot of people. I don't have a big following, but I feel like there's a lot of respect pointed my way, for which I appreciate and hope I return. I don't have too many people that have had negative things to say on my comment section and things like that, because I really do stand for stuff that maybe don't benefit me at all. Because I genuinely care about other people getting what they're supposed to have. Even if it's a rich person. You know what I mean? Like, unfairness is unfairness, bro. You earn that, you should have that. And so, you know, as much as we're going to be talking about the Lakers on this channel, I hope to reach Luka Doncic. Just like I felt like I was able to reach Anthony Davis at times. Just like I feel like I was able to reach LeBron James at times and Rob Pelinka at times. I think these people, if they don't follow me on Burner, some of their people do. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. I really believe that. I ain't got no proof of that, but I believe it. I believe it, and I've seen evidence of it in some ways, to be honest with you. And so I welcome Luka with open arms to LA, man. I want to see you get your money personally, and I ain't talking about $225 million. That ain't it. That is not what he's owed. It's not what he deserves. And I get it. He can make that up in like 6 years. From what I understand, in like 4 years, 6 years, some part of this will allow him to be once again eligible for a $440 million contract extension. That's fantastic. But that he has to wait for that when he's already earned that, and he's got to watch other talent get that when they're not as talented or as accomplished as he is, and he had to leave his place where his fan base is loyal to him, where he had an opportunity to spend his whole career in one place, just because a regime was in place that decided he wasn't worth half of his value and had an idea that they wanted a certain piece. Like, that shouldn't even be up to their discretion, in my opinion. That's too much power for a guy like Nico, with respect. It's too much power. You shouldn't be able to cost one of the top 3 basketball players in the league $112 million just because you don't agree that he should be a chubby guy or some weird stuff. That shouldn't even be something you have control over. It really shouldn't. That in and of itself is something wrong with that. And I don't blame Dallas for being unhappy with him. I really don't. I think they have every reason to be unhappy with Nico Harris today. You send away Kobe Bryant when he's 25 years old, we got a big problem with that. Big. Like, you need to up your security big. And I feel like Dallas feels just as strongly about Luka Doncic as we felt about Kobe Bryant. I feel like they felt like their future was just as bright. Believe me, us picking up Luka Doncic makes me feel like my future's that bright. So I don't imagine how they felt. Talking about you can win championships because I have an idea that we bring Anthony Davis and Max Christie and a first-round pick to my situation that can help this year's team win. What kind of short-sighted madness is that? That's madness. Just be honest, that's madness, y'all. No one man should even be able to make that type of decision. Now, if ownership is making that decision behind him, then the type of integrity I think the NBA should force is that we know it's ownership and not pointing at Nico Harris like he had anything to do with this. If this is really Nike and the 2 owners, then damn it, those are the people we need to be pointing our vitriol at. There shouldn't even be a space from which they can push that off onto one of their employees. So that's something else that needs to be rectified in the NBA. People want to blame other people for stuff they have control over when they know it's not favorable. But they want to benefit from what it is and then let somebody else take the blame. I know that's what's done in corporate world all over the world. That's how people operate. I had a good man tell me up here where I live, as early as a month ago, accountability and blame do not go together. They're 2 different things. I keep that wisdom with me, and I see it every day in the sports, which is what I told him when he told me that. I see that in the NBA. He said he sees it in the MLB, and he sees it everywhere else too throughout the course of his life. So I know that's how people operate, but we gonna shun it. You made a decision. You don't want to pay a man. Stand out in front of it. Don't leave one of your employees to be hated by an entire city of people when you told him to do this, when you demanded he do this. Because Nico Harrison, in my opinion, is in danger in Dallas. He shouldn't be going to no coffee shops in Dallas right now. And people mad, man. Like, literally. Only for us to be in the dark about who actually drove this. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I just think that there's a world where we look at the practices of what's going on here and say, nah, that's not okay. And I'm trying to normalize that world right now. Nah, we're not doing that. If this is new ownership in Dallas being frugal with their money, whether responsibly or not, then that's who needs to stand in front of this and say, yo, we don't want to pay Luka the Don. We had Nico Harrison take back this return. We okayed it. We understand it, that the brunt of it is going toward Nico, but he doesn't do this without our approval, and he doesn't do this to his own opinion, so to speak. This is not from his mind. This is from ours. We asked him to facilitate it. And then people could point their vitriol at the people who actually had the power to do something about it. Not looking at a guy, at a GM, and ready to, put him in a bad space because of the choices that were made above him by corporate, by Nike and all these other different people that probably just want Luka Doncic in LA. So there's a world where we need to talk about that like that, in that way. You know what I'm saying? So that's really my point of view, man. I'm happy Luka's here. I love when manna drops from heaven. But I think the best way to pay forward that is to point out, hey, yo, there's some wrongdoing or something that looks fishy or something that I don't like or something. That's the best way to repay a blessing, is to point out where something looks fishy, in my opinion. You give me something great, I appreciate something great. And in response to something great, I want to be great. Not sitting back saying, hey, I got something that I ain't supposed to have. But saying, yo, is this guy coming into my organization miserable and sad? Did y'all drive him to drink more and eat more because y'all took this money from him and casting him away from his fan base? Effectively selling us a lemon for half the price. And now he's irritated by all of that. A lot of people think he may have a fire lit under him for being casted away, but this could drive a person into depression. A person who's already struggling with their weight and their health and maybe have alcoholism or whatever going on. You think this is going to help? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a real thing. If his problems are really that bad, man, nah, we don't want him feeling worse coming to LA. That's part of why I have the energy pointed at it that I do. There's a 25-year-old guy here, man. He ain't that old. And you got people casting him away after showing them the best basketball they've ever seen in their uniform. What's that supposed to do to his confidence? What's that supposed to do to the man? You see what I'm saying? It's a guy who just his wife just had a baby. And this is how y'all do it? Like, this is the type of stuff that comes to my head. I don't know how everybody else is talking in the NBA. This is how BDF 44 gets down. We care about the human being, bro. It ain't just about basketball. We lost Kobe Bryant, man. Like, for those who are wondering, well, how serious this is for us, we've lost people. The way Dallas is feeling, we know that 20 times over, fam. Because Luka's still alive. We lost Kobe. They having funerals. I'm like, man, y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all ain't been through that like we've been through that. That's not what's actually happening there. You got to be thankful the guy's still alive if you care. But the way they're feeling, they don't want to hear that from me because this really does hurt. And I understand that too. I remember when Shaq was traded away. That's how we felt. So yeah, man, I'm thinking about y'all in Dallas, man. I'm thinking about y'all. The more I assess this, the more I realize that while Luka is blessed to be a Laker, at what cost did it come to him? You know? At what cost did it come to him? Because people were afraid to pay him, or people were afraid he was going to make a decision that ultimately left him in the cold. Now he gets to go down this path where he doesn't get the generational wealth that he's supposed to be passing on to his kid. Maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't. Later. Like, that's craziness, man. You best believe they made all the money in the world off of him, though. Don't show me the books on how much money they made on Luka jerseys being sold alone around the globe. I don't even want to see that, because we know damn well that equals out to way more than what it is they didn't get him, man. We know that. But go crazy. And you got it while he was fat, quote unquote. You got it while he was drinking, quote unquote. It's bunk, y'all. I'm telling you. BDL 44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.